Hello and welcome to another episode of The Highlight Reel. My name is Nick Lynch.
And I'm Ben Heltzer.
The NFL regular season has officially come to an end, which means Super Wildcard Weekend kicks off. And today we are going to be doing our predictions for every game. So the first game we have is the Chargers and the Texans. And honestly, Houston looks like the worst playoff team. I mean, I think the Chargers are gonna hammer them, and it's not going to be fun for Houston.
Yeah, ever since Christmas when they put up 2 points against Baltimore, they've just been on a downhill spiral. And I think they're just waiting to get put out of their misery, which kind of sucks because they were coming into the season with like Super Bowl aspirations with C.J. Stroud back there. They had so many weapons. Obviously, Tank Dell got hurt. But even still, they've just not looked like themselves. And on the other hand, the Chargers, ever since, Jim Harbaugh came and Justin Herbert, all they needed was a quarterback all they needed was a coach is what I'm trying to say. All they needed was a competent coach, and they have it. And I think that the Chargers could make a run. They're a sneaky team. So I'm going to say they get the job done 26-20.
Yeah.
Close game, but.
Yeah, don't count them out of the Super Bowl just yet. But meanwhile, for Houston, I think this game is going to come down to Joe Mixon, whether or not the Texans play well. Joe Mixon has to have a big game if Houston wants to win this game. I think that's really the only way Houston wins. So the next game is going to be the Steelers and the Ravens Saturday night on Prime Video. I'm going to go Ravens with this one, 30-10. I don't think... it's going to be another first-round exit for Pittsburgh. I don't see them beating Baltimore again. Back in Week 16, the Ravens just beat them big, and I think the score is going to look nothing much different.
I agree with you to an extent. I think that Pittsburgh will keep it a bit closer than you do, and I think it'll be a higher-scoring game than the typical Ravens-Steelers slugfest. So with that being said, I'm going to go Ravens 29-23. I think that Baltimore offense is just too much.
Yeah, ever since that loss to Philadelphia, Pittsburgh is just not.
Yeah, they lost 4 straight.
It's
not looking good for them.
Yeah. So that moves us to Sunday with the Broncos and the Bills. I'm going to take Buffalo 17-10. I think this game is going to be closer than expected. Because I think Sean Payton's a great coach. I think Denver has a bright future, and. Sean Payton likes to make these games close against really good teams, and I think that Buffalo is going to be one of them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it'll be a bit higher scoring, but I think it'll be even closer than you do, even as a Bills fan. I'm slightly nervous for this game. Sean Payton is a phenomenal head coach, and Bo Nix, he's just been able to really bring out the best in Bo Nix. But, you can't bet against Josh Allen, unless they're playing the Chiefs. You can't bet against Josh Allen at home in the playoffs. So give me the Bills 25-21. But, hats off to Denver for an amazing season.
So now Green Bay and Philadelphia. This game's going to be close. I think, same thing as Sean Payton. Matt LaFleur likes to keep these games close even when the Packers are underdogs. But I'm going to take the Eagles 23-20. It's just with the year Saquon Barkley's having, I think he's the player to watch. Expect him to have a big rushing game. And, I think the Eagles are going to.
Yeah, 100%. Barkley's been waiting for this opportunity. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring affair, but ultimately the Packers are just too injured to truly contend, especially in Philadelphia. I believe Jair Alexander and Christian Watson are both out, and those are 2 huge, huge losses for them. Not that it might have not even mattered anyway, but now that they're out, I expect Philly to absolutely roll. Give me 33-28.
The thing with Green Bay, though, when they saw Washington was trailing last week, I don't know why they decided to I think they were trying to win that game so that they could play Tampa Bay instead of instead of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, but the last year they were the 7th seed and everyone doubted them and they beat the Cowboys, so you never know.
That's true. So then we move on to Sunday night, the Washington Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to take the upset with this. I'm going to go Commanders 27-23. I think the Buccaneers without Chris Godwin, they're underperforming. And I think Washington, even though they have high expectations, I think, Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels, they're their relationship is great together, and I think that the Commanders are going to win this one.
Yeah, I love that pick, but I'm going to disagree here. I think that Baker Mayfield is just playing out of his mind as he's been doing for what seems like forever now. Mike Evans, he's going to go off in the playoffs, and I think that Bucs defense will buckle down, and I don't know. We don't know. Obviously, we've never seen Jaden Daniels, in a playoff game because he's a rookie, and while he has been amazing in the regular season, we don't know how he's going to perform when the lights are shining the brightest on him. And for that reason, I'm going to take Tampa Bay. Very close, though. Give me 27-24.
Yeah, I think also that it depends how Baker Mayfield plays. I think this is one of these games where Mayfield has a phenomenal game, but I think Jaden Daniels is just going to play better, and I think Washington's going to win.
Well, we'll see. That should be a great game. As should this next game that we're about to go over.
Yeah, so then we got Monday night with the Vikings and the Rams. The game has been moved from SoFi Stadium to State Farm Stadium due to the wildfires in Los Angeles.
It's not like they're losing that big of a home field advantage. SoFi is always full of the opposite team's color, it seems like. But it might affect the game. I don't think it will. But what's your pick here?
So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings 20-14. I think the Vikings are going to be mad from that in this Week 8 rematch when the Rams beat them 30-20. And, I think Minnesota's defense, though, now that wasn't their best game last week against Detroit, giving up 31 points. But I think the Vikings are going to quickly bounce back, and I think they're going to win this game against the Rams.
I'm going to disagree with you here again. I think that the number one thing you can have going into the playoffs is momentum. And I know the Rams did lose, but they were resting their starters, and they were on an absolute roll before Week 18. And I think that Stafford and the boys are going to show up, and they're going to show out. Minnesota, similar to a few years ago when they lost to New York in the first round, I think they might flame out. Give me the Rams in this one in a very close game.
Yeah. Well, that's it for us on the NFL. But up next is Smitty and Jake to talk about college football.
Hello and welcome back to college football on the highlight reel. We're covering the whole second round of the playoffs here today. Let's first discuss Boise State versus Penn State.
A very convincing win for Penn State. Genty had 30 carries, 104 yards. Not as surprising again from him. He's just been dominant all year.
Not a crazy performance, but
yeah, no, it was
Penn
a good
State
performance, but still, he's been doing that all year. He's been putting up these numbers all year. So just another great game for him. What are your thoughts on it?
I would say, obviously they held him. 30 carries, 104 yards. It's not that good, a little over 3 yards a carry. But, when it's an 8-man box, it's kind of hard to, they're throwing 8 guys at him. So that was sort of their whole thing, just stopping Genty.
Because that's really all they're.
I know a lot of people were trying to say, oh, he was versing Mountain West defenses the whole year, whatever. No, he's still really good. They're throwing 8 guys at him.
Yeah.
If their whole game plan is trying to stop him, and, their quarterback has 3 interceptions, then they can't win the game that way.
Nope, exactly.
But Penn State's offense, they were able to put together some explosive plays.
Mm-hmm. Just another stellar game from Tyler Warren. He's just been, I would probably say, the best tight end in college football.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Drew Aller, some nice throws.
Yep. Penn State will now play Notre Dame in the college football semifinal.
Running backs did really good for Penn State. Katron Allen, Nick Singleton combined for over 200 rushing yards. But, we saw some flashes from Aller.
Nick Singleton is a beast. He's he is up there on top 10 best running backs in college football. But he's a very good running back. He has the legs. He has the physicality.
Strong back. Yeah,
physicality to get through, break tackles. Just a strong game by him. And then moving on to our next game, the Peach Bowl, Texas versus Arizona. What are your thoughts on this game, Jake?
Arizona State obviously surprised us. It was a much better game than I thought it would be. They kept up. They exceeded expectations. A little bit of a slow start, but I'd say in the end it was probably one of, if not the best second-round game.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. They were down 17-3 at half, and then they were also down 24-8 at one point. I didn't think ASU would travel their way back, but
I didn't think they would come back.
They did. Just a amazing performance by Cam Scatterbo.
Yeah, I would say led the comeback for sure.
Yep.
143 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 receptions, 99 yards. Throwing the ball too. He did everything. For them.
He was
Everything.
all around.
I think
the
he definitely
MVP of this game, and I think he proved himself to a lot of NFL scouts.
Proved himself to me too. I remember we were talking about a few weeks ago. He was saying he's the best back in college football. I wouldn't, maybe say that. Still wouldn't say that. But he definitely.
I think he's the second best running back in the college football behind Genty.
Maybe, yeah.
But because if he was the best running back, he would be up for the Heisman Trophy race.
I mean, he was 5th.
Yeah, he was 5th.
Could just be biased,
but what I was gonna say, he definitely proved his stock for the draft if he's gonna declare for it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely curious to see where he'll go in the draft. If he'll be probably not a first rounder, but just what round he'll go in.
Yeah.
Excited to see if it'll translate to the NFL.
Yeah. All right. So going to overtime, Texas came out on top 39-31. It was just a great comeback for ASU. I'll give them props. Matt Golden made a huge play in overtime and had himself a big game. 7 receptions, 149 yards, and 1 TD. But now Texas will play Ohio State for a chance at the Natty.
Yeah, big game for Matthew Golden. Came up big in overtime, and I think that probably solidified himself as a top receiver in the draft. I think he's one of the best receivers in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. And now moving on to our next game, we're covering the Rose Bowl, Ohio State versus Oregon. What about the way Ohio State came out of this game? They
seriously
handled their business, and they put Oregon down to the ground.
Yeah, I was watching every drive. I was just waiting. I was like, is Oregon going to answer? Are they going to do anything?
Mm-hmm.
But they literally manhandled.
They were up by 20 the whole entire game.
31 unanswered points.
It was 34-8 going into halftime.
Yeah, they got that
against the number 1 team in the country.
Oregon looked pretty dominant the whole year. We did see it was only a 1-point win against Ohio State earlier in the season, but I thought Oregon was going to win, to be honest. I thought Oregon, even since that Ohio State game, I thought they looked way better. I thought they improved, and they looked like the clear best team in the country. But if there was a team to beat Oregon, I definitely thought it would be Ohio State, like we said a few weeks ago.
I totally agree with you.
And they showed that, dude.
Yeah. What about Jeremiah Smith?
Talk about him.
7 receptions, 187 yards, 2 TDs. I think this was his best game of the year.
Without a doubt, yeah.
By far. He every ball he was catching, he got at least a first down every single time.
Yeah, 7 receptions, 187 yards. I mean, I would go as far to say, maybe the best receiver in college football, and one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And true freshman, he's got a big future ahead of him.
Yeah, I agree. The Ohio State defense was just getting everything done that day at the Rose Bowl. They wanted the whole first half, which they got it, and Will Howard was just letting it fly to all his receivers. Just a beautiful day for Will Howard.
Everyone, Buka got it. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Will Howard was all over the place.
Yep. Let's talk about Ohio State, in the rest of just in the playoffs. They're a different breed in the playoffs.
So far, yeah, absolutely beat the crap out of Tennessee, and then, like we said, beat Oregon 41-21. They definitely need to keep playing like this. We said that Ryan Day to keep his coaching job alive. They got to make a run.
He's gonna make a
They've
run.
been doing so, and they've looked amazing.
Yep. And
Not
now
the team against Michigan.
and now they move on to play Texas, which is going to be a great game. The winner of that game could win the Natty, I think, but
I think the winner of that game is probably the favorite.
yeah, I
But
agree.
I think Ohio State keeps playing like that. Nobody's beating them.
Exactly. And then moving on to our last game, we got Georgia versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame took this one over 23-10. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was decided by a few major plays. Obviously, that big kick return, almost 100-yard kick return, and then that Trevor Etienne fumble kind of shifted momentum. You know, Georgia was looking to go into scoring position, and then fumble sort of shifted the momentum. But yeah, obviously Georgia is without their QB, Gunnar Stockton. What are your thoughts on his performance?
I don't think he had a great performance. He's not. I don't think he's ready to be that QB1 at that level yet.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad. Like 200, I think like over 200 passing yards.
Yeah, but like
No
it was also
interceptions,
it
but-
was his receivers too. Like his
Yeah,
receivers couldn't catch a
I don't
ball.
think he don't. Georgia doesn't have many good threats on offense, but
Mhm.
yeah, honestly, the Georgia offense as a whole, even with Carson Beck, they didn't look that good this season anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Notre Dame honestly could have had a chance to beat them.
Yep, Riley Leonard only had 90 passing yards, but Notre Dame was able to make some big plays and also some big stops on defense.
Yeah, really good defensive game for them.
Yeah.
But
Real quick, let's talk about the semifinals. We got Notre Dame versus
Penn
Penn
State,
State, and then we also got Georgia versus Texas. Well, so I
Texas
think
versus Ohio State.
or Texas versus Ohio State. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I think Notre Dame's gonna win that game. And
I
then-
agree.
And then I think Ohio State will beat Texas.
I think Ohio State's gonna beat Texas in a close one.
I agree. And then, but I think if it comes down to Notre Dame versus Ohio State, I think Notre Dame's gonna beat Ohio State.
Honestly, I can't see. I think if Ohio State plays Notre Dame in the championship, I think they absolutely demolish them. But listen, that's all we have for this week. Don't go anywhere. Up next, Andrew will be talking about soccer.
Hello, I am Andrew Mirzaaghasi, and I will be talking about soccer once again. It has been a while, hasn't it? We're now in the year 2025, so let's see how the beginning of half of this decade will go. So, going back to the Premier League, there have been changes, some for better, some for worse. But for Man City, and a Man City fan myself, it's probably been the worst. We literally dropped the top 5 spot. We are in 6th place right now with 34 points, and we went from let's win the games to we're just going to lose them because of stupid stuff. So we had back-to-back losses. Then we won against Leicester City 0-2. And now we won against Western Ham 4-1. The first goal being an own goal. 2 of the goals being scored by Haaland himself. And the very last goal is Foden. But yeah, so far we have not qualified for Champions League position or Europa League at all. So honestly, if we somehow make it back to top 5, I'll be glad. If we don't, then well, Man City hasn't even had a shot this year at going to different international championships, which is sad. And I'm telling you, there is something about Rodri winning that Ballon d'Or that really cursed Man City this season. And it's not even the injuries. It's just him winning the Ballon d'Or. It's like it cursed the entire team. So, in funny related soccer news, as I get to talk about this subject, Linkin Park is set to perform in the halftime show for the Champions League in Munich, Germany on May 31st. This was a surprise. I honestly didn't think they would do that, but they are on the tour right now. They haven't been active due to the death of their lead vocalist, Chester Bennington, in 2017, but they have found a new vocalist in the names of Emily Armstrong, as their latest album is called Zero, which was released on November 2024. Well, I'm excited. I don't mind them playing. Of course, I kind of like their music. I have them on my Spotify playlist, but we will see how it's going to go, because ever since Linkin Park returned with their new vocalist, there have been nothing but chaos between if she is a good replacement or she is not a good replacement at all. It is between the fans of the band and non-fans of the band. Honestly, if you're asking for my opinion, I'm probably not going to say it, but I think this is for probably the better, in my opinion, as we get to see them live this time. So we went from Man City, let's go to Barcelona. So how is Barcelona doing? Well, they were basically champions of the La Liga, but now they're third place now as they lost 2 times in a row against Atletico Madrid and Leganes. The Spanish club's reign over the trophy is now over, and Real Madrid has now taken over, back on the top, being the quote-unquote winners for now for the La Liga. However, they are doing very well in the Champions League as they are in second place behind Liverpool. I still see a bright future for this team. This team of Yamal, Rafinha, and Lewandowski, I still feel like they could perform better, they could do better. And honestly, after seeing how, I could say like Messi, Suarez, Neymar, in that case, of hopefully they pull off that kind of success with their trio. But like I said before, I want this team with these new players to hopefully win a trophy. That's all I can say. Only time could tell. But we will see for how the Champions League treats them because they'll be doing well this season. Now let's look at the Premier League standings. In first, we have Liverpool with 46 points. In second, we have Arsenal with 40 points. Nottingham Forest with 37 points. Chelsea with 36 points. And Newcastle with 35 points. As you could tell, Liverpool is in first, obviously. Arsenal second. But Nottingham Forest, I'm really shocked with Nottingham Forest, as usually they're in the middle, but this time they're in third place. So congrats to them. And Newcastle usually falls around top 10, but now they've reached top 5. So honestly, I like that there's change, but also new opportunity, because I know how many people don't like Man City fans because they keep hogging the attention up when they win the Premier League, but Liverpool is also up there too, so anything could happen. I just hope that Man City can at least land top 5 so they can qualify for an international tournament. But like I said multiple times during this segment, only time can tell, and we'll see what the future holds for both Man City and Barcelona. That's it for soccer, but don't go anywhere, as Matt and Rocco will be talking about the NBA.
Hello and welcome back to the NBA segment on the highlight reel. It's been a while since we last covered the NBA, so without further ado, let's get it started. Rocco, this past Friday, January 3rd, the Knicks played the Thunder. Tough loss for the Knicks on this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, the nine-game winning streak, comes to an end at the hands of the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the game was very fun. It sure lived up to the hype. The Knicks should have won. They dominated for really 45 minutes of that game. They just couldn't close out the final 3. And you just look, the team gets tired. They fall apart. The Thunder are a very good team, so I'm not surprised that we lost. But at the same time, it's just like, you could have really closed it out. Get your 10th in a row. You're closing in on Boston for the number 2 seed. You got to win that game.
Right. Coming up next, on the day after, the 4th, they lost to the Bulls by about 13, 126 to 139.
Now this was a disaster, Matt, because not only did the Knicks collapse again in the 4th quarter, they were tired. They lost the game, and that's all there is to it. The Bulls, nearly 140 points. The Chicago Bulls, by the way, the Bulls, led by Billy Donovan and Kobe White, who had a nice poster the other night on Victor Wembanyama, but a bad loss for the Knicks and just not what you want to see, because like that's 2 losses in a row. What are we going to go on a losing streak now? Is that what's going to happen?
Next, we got the Bucks and the Blazers. Blazers taking this one, 105 to 102. Thoughts on this one? It was a close game.
Doc Rivers' little fantasy winning streak wasn't going to last forever, and we know the Bucks they were inconsistent at the start of the year, but now they've gotten better, building momentum with the wins. Giannis Antetokounmpo just doing his thing like he always does, and that's what you want to see from a guy like Giannis. He's certainly an MVP candidate, but look, you got to win these games against the teams that aren't very good. The Trailblazers have been irrelevant since Damian Lillard went to Milwaukee, so if you want to be taken seriously in the East, that's very tough. You got to win this game.
Finally, we got the Sunday. Sunday, we had the Celtics and the Thunder. Thunder take this one by a whopping 13, 92 to 105. Thoughts?
I mean, what else is there to say about the Boston Celtics? You look at what they've done last year and this year. I get it. NBA champs, playoff bound, probably. Repeat, not a chance. It's not going to happen with this core. It's not happening with this team. The Celtics are as inconsistent as they come, Matt. and you look at what the Thunder did, that's a real number one team. That's a number one team. Not what the Celtics have been putting out on the court for the last month or so. That's not how you win another championship. So I don't know what Coach Mazzulla has to do to figure this out, but it's not looking good for the Celtics with the Knicks closing in on them for the number 2 spot in the East.
Well, that's going to do it for us this week, but next up is Luke and Myles on the NBA.
Welcome to the highlight reel. Today we'll be going over our top 10 NBA players. So Luke, give me your top 10.
Okay. My number one player in the league, I think it's pretty obvious at this point, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
All right.
He's just dominant. Every night the Thunder win, except last night, but they won 15 in a row before that, and he's the best player on the team. He scores whenever he wants, and he's a really good defensive player, really good passer. I think he's just the number one guy. Number 2, I have Nikola Jokic, walking triple-double. Has an argument to be number 1. 2 MVPs. He's really, really good. Number 3, I have Giannis. All these guys are really good, but averaging 31 and 11. Great, shoots a great percentage from the field. And he could really just do whatever he wants against the defense. Can't really shoot, but goes to the basket so easily. Number 3, I have my first Knick on here. It's Jalen Brunson. He can just take over games. He takes over basketball games. We saw it in the playoffs last year. We see it this year whenever the rest of the team has an off night. He hasn't done as much this year, but the rest of him has an off night. He's just like, okay, I'm going to go score 40 and just win the game now. And I think that's amazing. Number 5, I have Luka. He's another one of those guys who can make a case for the top spot. He probably the best all-around scorer in the league. Doesn't really play as much defense, though. That's why I have him lower down than some of those other guys.
Okay. Luka, right?
Yeah.
He always comes in out of shape, and he's always missing time with an injury. I don't know how. I know you're going to say you have Anthony Edwards below him, all right? I see that. But Luka, he's a one-dimensional player. I don't know how you could have him that high.
I mean, he's averaging 28, 8, and 8. That means he passes the ball well and he gets rebounds, too. He's also, 6'7", playing point guard.
Doesn't matter.
He scores so well. I mean, I understand the defense isn't what you like, but I think his offense just makes up for it.
I mean, LaMelo Ball is a 6'7" point guard. He doesn't play defense either.
Yeah, he also shoots 30%. He goes 5 for 25 every game.
Yeah, all right.
So at number 6, as you're saying, it's Anthony Edwards, another great player. He does play defense, but just not as consistent, I feel like, on offense. Number 7, I have another Knick. It's Karl Anthony Towns. He's having his best year as a pro. He's been amazing. Great trade for the Knicks. He's averaging 25 and 14. 14 rebounds is a lot more than he's ever had before. He's playing tougher. He's playing a little more defense than he did in Minnesota. I think Tibbs taught him that. And it's just been amazing to watch the difference between him and Julius Randle. Number 8, I have a Celtic, Jason Tatum. He's good. He's overrated. Not an MVP. He's a good player, though. He's top 10. He's a superstar. I'll give him that. But didn't play on Team USA at all.
Yeah, that was Steve Kerr's decision. He was good enough to play. He just didn't play for whatever reason.
Number 9, I have second-year phenom Victor Wembanyama. His numbers don't look that great yet, but he's just getting better. 25 and 10, and he averaged 4 blocks a game, which is just crazy. And number 10, I know you're not going to like this pick. Numbers-wise, probably not top 10, but just impact on a basketball game, I have Josh Hart.
All right, we got to talk about this.
Big shots, grabs rebounds, fights hard. It's all those things that you could want in a basketball player. It doesn't show up on the stat.
Josh Hart at 10? At 10? I don't know if
maybe he's not top 10. I just wanted to talk about
I don't know
Josh
if he's
Hart
top 30. That's like a Skip Bayless take right
there. The big
there.
impact he makes on a basketball game.
Top 10? Come on, Luke.
I know he's not a top 10 player in the NBA, but he impact-wise,
I'm not saying
he's very important to the Knicks winning basketball games.
I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying he's obviously not top 10. All right. So for my top 10, I have Jokic at 1. All right, he's incredible. Triple-doubles all the time. He plays a sneaky good defense. I'm very surprised by how he moves in the post. Then at number 2, I have Giannis, who's averaging 31, 11, and 6. The Bucks are a complete disaster with Darvin Ham, but as you said, we have most of the guys on the top 10. So I just want to overlap a few. At number 10, I have Paulo Banchero. I know he's been injured, but I really like what he's doing.
He's a good player when he's healthy.
Yeah. And then at number 9, I have Domantas Sabonis, who I really think is like a baby Jokic.
Yeah, but he's not that young. Like, if he was like 22, 23, I could see it.
It doesn't matter.
He's good.
You know, we both don't have LeBron in here, which I'm very thankful for. I think LeBron's terrible.
He could easily make a case for top 10 right now.
No,
at age 40,
no. I'd take
easily
Josh
can
Hart
make a
over
case.
LeBron. I'd take Josh Hart.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I noticed one thing.
What?
You didn't have Jason Tatum.
No, Jason Tatum. He's been very inconsistent.
You're a Celtic fan. Maybe I'll take that back. Maybe Tatum's not top 10. I'll put LeBron in instead.
Oh, my God. That's terrible. Tatum, look, he's one of the best all-around players in the league, but he's just been very inconsistent this season. I expect him to pick it up.
And another guy I want to talk about is Victor Wembanyama. What do you see from him?
Well, I have him at 3.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I think he's just he's the best defensive player in the league by far.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And there's only more room for him to grow. He's like 20 years old. I think he just turned 21, actually. I mean, he has a chance to become one of the best players ever. He's got that high of a ceiling. He's dominating the league at 21. He's only going to get better. In a couple of years, you could easily make a case for him to be number 1.
I'd agree with that. I'd say in approximately 5 years. All right. Well, that's all we have for this week on the highlight reel. We'll see you next week.